Welcome to the Own It Show. I'm Heather Lee Chapman, your holistic performance and business coach. And I'm so excited to be here with you all today. It's time to stop sacrificing your health and freedom and start scaling your results in your business and all areas of your life. Here at Own It Empire, we help entrepreneurs become high performers and increase their awareness so they can increase their impact and create profitable business online so that you can truly own it. Welcome back to the Own It Show. I am your host, Heather Lee Chapman, and transformation coach for holistic high performers. And I have a special guest here today, Holly McNeill. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Heather, for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. And we're going to share about your zone of genius to help people truly create more happiness in their life. And we're going to talk about that hidden formula for happiness. And
That's right.
Which I'm so excited about, because who doesn't want to be more happy?
Right. Me. No, I don't want to be. I want to be more happy.
all do. Right. And let's share a little bit more about Holly first. So by the age of 34, the perfect world that Holly had built to hide her perceived flaws and defects imploded. From that low point, she promised to do better and spent the next 20 years making good on that vow. Her search would take her across the country and from coast to coast. She read books, listened to teachings, attended retreats, and took in whatever spiritual instruction she could find. For 6 years, Holly practiced Buddhism, in part living in a Dharma house in San Francisco. Her quest would evolve into the creation of P.E.R.L.O.V.E formula, an effective and transformational set of mindfulness and meditation practices based on the teachings and gurus she encountered. And guys, I'm so excited for her to be sharing all her knowledge and wisdom today. So thank you so much again for being on the show.
Of course, of course.
And we always like to kick off first with a little bit more about you and your journey. So where were you? How did you get started in your business?
So I created this perfect life by age 34. I had everything. On the outside, I had everything: house, career, husband, 2 kids, even down to my pets, right? But the foundation was flawed, because as children, often we get ideas about ourselves that we're not okay, and that we should, that we're unlovable or unworthy. And like I said, at age 34, that implosion happened, very low point in my life. I was literally crying on the toilet in the middle of the night. I made this vow: help me and I'll do better. Give me a second chance. Life, God, Buddha, the universe, anyone, and I'll change. So I got that second chance, and to make good on that, I went out with my karmic debt in tow to make good on that vow. But wouldn't be easy. It would catapult me out of a mutually manipulative and controlling marriage into an 8-year battle for my kids, and taking everything I had back then, which wasn't much, to prevent my alienation from them. But as I said, by making this intention and keeping it, I tripped upon this amazing path that, Heather, for the first 10 out of those 20 years, I didn't even know what I was looking for, but it gave me answers when I needed it, and the right people, events, and situations to help me along my way. So, and like I said, I moved across the country and from coast to coast, but it wouldn't be until we were all sequestered in our homes during the COVID pandemic that I printed out a book proposal that I was writing. And just looking over at the pages, I could see it. It was like a light came on, like this veil finally, rose up. I could see a straightforward set of mindfulness and meditation practices that represented the circuitous route that I had been on the last 20 years. So with the help of my husband, we created the acronym for these practices: P.E.R.L.O.V.E, pledge, evaluate, recognize, which we're going to get into a little bit more today, which is the more cerebral part, where we're training the mind; and locate, open, vest, and expand, which is the more spiritual part. And so my goal, I started teaching these online a year ago in January, and my goal is to share this shortcut, or this very clear path from stuck and isolated to, as far as you want to go with these, with people, with as many people as I can. So that's what my business has become, my goal, my intention. And it's been a wonderful journey. Fabulous people like you have been showing up to help me spread this word, And yeah, it was hard. And some of the things in my life, I wouldn't recommend that path to anyone, but I have no regrets and I'm grateful. And I'm hoping to share these amazing transformational practices because they're not my own. They're just from the teachers and gurus and the millennial old wisdom and the few simple truths. And it's just, I'm an architect, right? And so I'm good at putting big puzzles together. And that's what I have to share with people.
I love it. Well, thank you for going on your own self-exploration journey to be able to put
Yeah,
together what you now teach, to take it to the masses, to bring more
right.
peace and harmony, for people and for them to have a better awareness and understanding of themselves so they can have more joy in their life. It's
That's right.
just not taught in the foundational schools.
It is not. And I was talking to someone yesterday. It's like, why didn't we learn this stuff in school? It would be so, as children, we're so malleable, right? And instead of getting this vast, important information, we're really kind of molded around society's rules and its prescriptions and whatever patterns or issues our parents have, and we take those things on. And so it's really unlearning those and finding your own power and freedom and joy. And yeah,
I love that. We were just talking about that rebirth, recreation of yourself at any point in time in life. My joke is like, if you're mad at me from 90 days ago, I apologize that Heather's dead.
that's
She's no
right.
longer here.
That's
I
right,
move
moment
so
to moment.
fast.
Right, that's absolutely right, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. So let's dive into the PER, the PER part of the love, and your tips and tricks. But before we do that, I actually always like to give like a piece of advice. So, what's something that you either wish you knew or you're really grateful you know now that helped you on your entrepreneur journey or
Yeah,
onward
well,
journey?
an amazing thing that actually, like we talked about, that you kind of helped me crystallize is the class I give is called the Lost Formula to Happiness, right? And so someone asked me the other day, why do you think that formula is lost? And so what I appreciate or wish I knew is, we first have to look at how people define happiness. And typically it's, if I get this car, if I get this relationship, the money, if, something I'm eating, or if I get enough sleep, or it's all external, right? And so we want to try to keep that high energy, but life is messy, right? Life is messy. You're going to have ups and downs, no matter who you are, no matter your economic situation, your race, your location, any of that, your orientation. Life is messy. So I define happiness as well-being, as peace of mind. And so the formula to happiness is being able to keep a peaceful, joyful mind, regardless of the pleasant, unpleasant, sad, happy things going on in your life. And that secret, that formula, that knowledge that is what's going to bring you stability and joy and freedom is what I'm happy to know now, and what I wished I know years and years ago, for sure.
I love that. So finding that happiness within and not looking externally. So no matter the circumstance, we can find that peace and happiness.
Right, right. And that's what the P.E.R.L.O.V.E practices are all about. And like I said, we're going to just focus on the 3 tips I'm going to give is the PER. That's where we really train the mind. So the first one is to pledge, right? We meet any intention that you can make in your life. A lot of times you don't have to know you're going to get someplace. You just need to make that intention and for what shows up. But what we're really going to start with is 6 minutes a day. So pledge is to spend 1 minute 6 times a day looking at your thoughts, right? We each have 6,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. They create our thoughts and our emotions and feelings. And if we're not paying attention to them, then we're on automatic pilot. We're just living through them, right? So if you pledge, somebody asked me, is that enough, right? 1 minute 6 times a day? Well, the whole goal is to make a habit of it, right? When you think of something over and over and over again, like we have with anxiety or depression or anything we've done automatically, then your brain starts to pick it up as a habit, as a pattern, and it starts to happen automatically. So while you're looking at your thought, you're just 1 minute 6 times a day, you're just paying attention to what's going on. If you do that consistently, it will eventually start to happen automatically. So we'll be starting with 1 minute 6 times a day. You want to make this a 24/7 thing where you're always aware of what's going on in your head,
I
right? So
love
that's P. So then that takes you to E, so that you're then able to evaluate, right? We are trying to grow our awareness. We are trying to understand what parts of us we've shoved away and we don't want the world to see, yet we're creating from, right? So with that pledge, with that habit of watching your mind, you then start to evaluate the different thoughts that repeat, that come up, right? And you want to understand where they came from, and but you don't want to stay enmeshed in them, right? So if you're
Mm.
enmeshed in something and you're living from inside this neural net of thoughts, emotions, and feelings, you can't see it, right? But you're trying to start to see it, right? So in evaluate, and you can start with the easy stuff, at the top, maybe negative self-talk or procrastination, but you just watch those thoughts every day. So that's evaluate. And then R is when it all comes together, when you recognize those thoughts as they come up in your daily life, right? So you're creating this awareness through the pledge, and then you're watching for these thoughts, and you recognize it. Over the years, I've realized from all the teachers and gurus that they all point back to a few simple truths. We are not our thoughts, emotions, and feelings. We are not our TEF, as I call it. We're so much more than that. So we want to be able to see those as thoughts arising, right? And if you don't grab onto them and like wrestle with them, you can respond to them with wisdom, right? So with recognize, and this is the very quick version of all of this, with recognize, you are wanting to recognize them and catch them as they come up in your daily life. And someone just said to me, that's great. Well, what do you do when you catch them, right? Well, you can do a lot of things. You can welcome them. Come sit next to me. I release you. I understand you. I see you. I yield to you. I do anything but attach to you, right?
Mm.
And when you do that, you start to create space between you and your thoughts, emotions, and feelings. And that space is in turn freedom for your aha moments, your wisdom to come through. And for you, and this is going to take time, right? Because how many decades have we been creating the negative patterns? And when you create that space, you respond to them with wisdom, and you start to see kind of the freedom and power that you gain when you're looking at your TEF rather than being enmeshed in it. So those are the 3 tips, but very quickly. But my biggest tip for somebody is, if you want to learn something or do something, you must listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over again, because that's what's creating the new habits and replacing the old.
I love it. It's so important because what stories are going on in there all the time?
Exactly.
Yeah, and 95% of our thoughts, feelings, and actions are on autopilot. And
Mm-hmm.
we're what we call auto suggestion. So it was a repetition is how we got them. And
Right.
so when we can use that repetition tool to reprogram ourselves,
Mm-hmm. To
so that
catch them, yep.
so there are different thoughts and patterns going on. And I love how you said, like, we're not our uh, thoughts, emotions, feelings. We say, like, people are not their behavior in NLP, because we know that they're not their behavior. We know it's
Right.
conditioning. We know
Mm-hmm.
they can change. We know 95% of what people do is usually reactionary and unconscious.
That's right.
And so, what you're saying is, when we can create that awareness to be the observer of our thoughts instead of so involved in them, we can actually
Mm-hmm.
create a space between them where we don't act on that and that doesn't become our behavior. And we can also then have an awareness of what we would prefer.
Right, right. And the trick about the PER is that you keep going back to it, right? You have to do it. It takes 3 times to even understand something, 8 times to have it sink in, and 21 days to make it a habit. So I tell people, try the first one, just 1 minute 6 times a day, but just do it consistently. And you will notice that automatically, even when you're not meditating, you'll be like, oh, you'll start noticing what's going on in your head. And that is the first step to taking control of your thoughts, emotions, and feelings, and creating your own power and space and joy, and being able to react to pleasant things and unpleasant things and joyful things and terrible things, all from that place of wisdom, from that awareness that you grow. And it works because I was so stuck and so lost. I mean, like I said, I had it all. I had a great career, handsome husband, beautiful house, 2 kids, but I didn't have it at all. Right. And so there's probably a lot of people out there that feel that same way. Like, this is supposed to be happiness. No, happiness is that clarity and wisdom through mind training. And what I love about that is, and it takes you to the love part of the formula where there's so much self-exploration there, so much you can learn about yourself, about life. Takes you wherever you want to go. You can create whatever you want to create. Yeah,
Yeah, we
I
really do
love
have
it.
an opportunity at any moment in time to recreate ourselves and
Yes,
recreate our lives and be the co-creator and create life by design.
that's
It's
right.
just that we don't know that 95% of what we're doing is on that autopilot. And without this
Right.
awareness of what you're teaching, it stays there. And then we can
Mm-hmm.
usually take your results from last year and put it on top of this year, and 95% of it will be the same. That is scientifically proven. That's our
Exactly.
neurolinguistics programming. And
Right.
so when we can understand how the brain actually operates so that we can be in control instead of being controlled by our conditioning, just because the
Right.
model of the world you grew up in your parents or your grandparents or your teachers or society or the news or whatever was on all the time created you, and that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be who you are now. You get to recreate. And I was going to say earlier, like, you make it sound so easy. And and I know it's a journey. So for anybody out there, when I first started, I used to set alarms in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
you can say, oh yeah, I'm going to be observant of my thoughts. I'm going to check in later. And then you autopilot
Mm-hmm.
it all day. And you got to the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day and you're like, right,
Right.
did I pause to think about what I was
Yeah.
thinking about?
Yeah. It's not
I
only
wasn't
autopilot.
thinking. I was on
Yeah.
autopilot. I actually want to pause to think.
It's not only autopilot, but the mind will actually put up roadblocks, right? As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you have this long-term neural net relationships, and it's going to protect that programming. It's actually going to try to convince you not to do it or help try to get you to forget it, because that's the patterns. It's not doing it to be, it's just your brain. It's just a tool. It's just misprogrammed, right? So it not only will you like be on autopilot, your brain will actually, set up roadblocks to protect its programming. So making the change takes consistency, and absolutely setting an alarm. I say you can do morning, noon, and night, 3 times a day. Or, right before you go to bed, put down your cell phone for 1 minute. If something wakes you up in the middle of the night, just pay attention. And first thing in the morning, you're halfway done, right?
I love
But
it.
you just need to be consistent because you are taking charge. You are training your mind, and that takes your attention. All you need is your attention, right?
And just a tool, like, how do you get there? Meditation, some people say, they might find really hard. Most people can't concentrate or quote unquote clear their mind. It's not necessarily that we're trying to clear the mind, we're just trying not to get involved with the thoughts so we can observe them and let them pass. And how do we get better at this practice so we actually can be aware of the thoughts and what stories are going along with them? Is that meditation. And
Yeah.
some people are like, oh, well, I can't sit and meditate. You can do moving meditations. I do hot yoga. It's good, like a decent pace. You can't be anywhere else but in the present moment because it's so hot. You're trying to tell yourself you're not going to die. Absolutely. Whatever you need to do to bring yourself centered. I used to cold plunge and I started doing that again. In
Mm.
February was my first time. I went in the lake in Canada. They literally have to use a saw to cut a hole in the ice
Oh my gosh, Heather.
because it's like
Wow.
2 feet
Okay, that
of
is going to bring you to the
ice.
present moment for sure.
Yeah, and
What
you get real present when your
yeah.
body goes, "Oh, I'm gonna die. Hang on a second." All the stories stop, and then you realize you're not gonna die, and you can override that. And then I like how you said roadblocks. I have a tendency to say self-sabotaging,
Uh-huh.
and the book Psycho-Cybernetics explains that so very well. So we have an operating system, and say we have a destination. We want to go to a goal over here, but our operating system, our self-image, our belief system, it's over here. So no matter how hard we try to get to go over here, we always end up back here. And
Mm-hmm.
we do it unconsciously. So our unconscious mind, which is running the show, like consciously I'm choosing to talk to you, I'm doing this right now, and
Yeah.
unconsciously lots of things are happening. And in that
Mm-hmm.
unconscious, its job is to keep you safe. So it
Mm-hmm.
literally goes, here's the programming, here's the operating system, here's my self-image, and anything outside of that change seems
Right.
unsafe. And so we
Right.
will self-sabotage or put up our own roadblocks that will literally always bring us back to the same results in our
Right.
safe space.
Right. And
So
which is why a lot of times some people have to hit rock bottom or whatever before. It certainly was that way for me before they want to make this change. And so, if people, they don't even have to know how to get there. They just have to really believe that it's possible. And that'll start to change. Nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. And you can start to have, some of those aha moments to come through. I did want to comment on meditation. One of the things I love and found out actually quite a bit late in my journey is that meditation in Tibetan actually means to become familiar with, right? That's the definition of it in Tibetan. And so we're in meditating, it's just a tool. And all you're doing in meditation is becoming familiar with what's going on, right? So whether you think you can do it well or not well, just watch, you're just watching, and that's going to help you to see and to create this awareness. And that is one of the main functions of meditation, to help you become aware and become familiar with what is there, right?
yeah, what is happening? What is
Mm-hmm.
all the things that are happening in there? I did a yin yoga class the other day, which I haven't done in a while, which is obviously a lot slower. It's a lot um, it's more of a like peaceful meditation, and that's when the stories, those thoughts, there was lots of observing happening. And I when we move our body, we also move stuck energy, which usually is associated with a trauma. And we
Mm-hmm.
can keep putting that back in the box and burying it, or we can observe it and give it new meanings
Mm-hmm.
and get those lessons and the blessings, to see the contrast, be grateful for it, decide what we prefer. But it takes those moments of silence to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do that. And I think a lot of us are addicted to fast pace and productivity,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't allow us those moments of silence, because we're avoiding those things that we probably need to transmute and heal. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a challenge for everyone every day. Today, they're going to take those 6 minutes, 1 minute of silence to observe the first step she's given you today. I just dare you to try it. Whether it takes setting an alarm in your phone, or you chunk it with another habit, that's always good. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
brush your teeth twice a day, so you're always gonna do it after or before you brush your teeth. Chunk it with the habit, make it a lot easier. And I'd love for you to come back and let us know, what is the stories that are going on in there
Right.
once you start observing it? What is the
Right.
dominating story? Is it fear, worry, and doubt in fight and flight mode? Or is it impossibility and faith and love and peace and harmony and balance? Because whichever is the dominating is also our dominant point of attraction. And
Mm-hmm.
that gets us into a different conversation into the quantum physics, but just know that this simple tool could literally change the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love about the 1 minute, 6 times a day is that we're creating a new habit. If you do it long enough, it will happen automatically, so that you have this habit of watching your thoughts all day long without effort, right? That's what habits are, things that happen automatically without effort. And yeah, so it's very powerful. I'm very grateful to be where I am today. And I'm grateful for you, Heather, for having me on this wonderful show.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. And I got a random question for you. What's your favorite book?
Oh boy. The thing that brought the whole formula together, there was a book by Dr. Richard Carlson called You Can Be Happy No Matter What. It's on the principles of thought, feeling, separate emotions, and the present moment. And there's a little teeny footnote in that book. And it says, by the way, these first four principles were from a book called Sanity, Insanity, and Common Sense a new approach to happiness from the 1980s that didn't get much boom at all, but is so clear in talking about, how these thoughts become patterns. And so that book was the finishing touches on the formula. I don't know if it's my favorite book or not, but it was a great story. So.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. I'm a bookworm, so I always like to ask about books. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you for your energy, your wisdom, your knowledge, for willing to do the transformation journey yourself so you could turn
Mhm.
around and serve so many other people to also evolve into the best versions of themselves so they can
Of
find that
course.
happiness
Right.
regardless of circumstances. And
That's
so
right. That's right. That well-being, that freedom and clarity. It's well worth the journey, people.
I love it. And so we've got a link there for people to grab a free gift from you. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So it's a 1 hour class. It is the 1 hour class called The Lost Formula to Happiness. It tells a little bit of my history, and then it goes into each one of the practices in detail, referencing the gurus and teachers that these practices came about from, and giving you just a reiteration of the practices. But the beautiful part is it's a link that you can listen to over and over and over and over. So please, just 10 years into my journey, I was given this fabulous CD by John Kabat-Zinn from a wonderful therapist. And even before my Buddhist study, I knew how important it was to listen to things over and over and over. So please accept this gift from me and just listen to it over and over and over. It will change your life. And whatever practices you take on, whatever mindfulness meditation practices, whether it's P.E.R.L.O.V.E or not, just remember, you're changing our habits one at a time, right? So you have to keep doing it.
Yeah, you have to keep doing it. And that's the key. That's the key to growth. And my last piece of advice for you guys is how many times can you pick yourself back up?
Mm-hmm.
And it may have to get so painful that you feel like you're breaking before you make the change, because that's usually
True.
how it works, right? You have to get
Yeah,
so
things get worse before they
uncomfortable.
get better. That's true.
And then, how many times can you pick yourself back up, reinvent yourself, and get back out there? And my book around this topic that I absolutely love would be The Power of Now or The Untethered
Mm-hmm.
Soul. So definitely.
Yes, those two books for sure. Yes, those are definitely books on my list as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, so dive in, guys. So much knowledge and wisdom in this podcast. We've got book recommendations for you, free gift. And so may you go out and own your happiness because life is meant to be blissful. And you came here to do it your way, not the way you were conditioned or you quote unquote should, but the
Mhm.
way that you desire. And Holly is a great person to be able to help you with that. So make sure you click on that link there. And thank you again, Holly, so much for your wisdom today.
Of course. Thank you, Heather, and for all the amazing work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. And so, to all our listeners out there, remember stay happy, healthy, wealthy, expect magic and miracles, and remember what is the best that can happen. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Own It Show today. Make sure to leave a review and subscribe. We want to thank you for your time and energy and extend the invite for you to join us in the Own It community on Facebook, an incubator for conscious entrepreneurs so that they can step into their greatness. We have tons of free trainings and resources for you, as well as a great opportunity to network with people leaving a positive impact on this world. Make sure to come back for next week's show. Have an incredible day. Remember, expect magic and miracles. Stay happy, healthy, and wealthy.